So I'm very, very excited to share with you today who we have on the call who are going to be presenting information. From the Stewart Foundation, we have Terry Cook and Alexia Everett. We have Yali Lincroft from the Walter S. Johnson Foundation, Angel Roberson Daniels from the Angel Foundation, and Emily Puttrick from the Emily and David Puttrick Fund. So we're really excited to have all of these wonderful folks on the call with you today to present information and answer any questions that you might have. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Terry Cook from the Stewart Foundation.
Terrific. As we get started with this webinar, and before we jump into the letter for inquiry opportunity, wanted to take just a couple moments to talk about a little bit about the past and the journey that helped us get here. As I'm sure you all know about Legend, that's the College Pathways, which used to be called Guardian Scholar Program, started back in 1999 with Cal State Fullerton and a student who from foster care and a champion on the campus who wanted to smooth the path for that young person to get to and through college. The Stewart Foundation supported some of that early work with the idea that if in fact this was successful, that it should spread, and that this essentially good news and good work would spread to other youth and other campuses. Many others have joined, many foundations, individuals, community organizations, other champions, and the work has spread to more than 80 campuses, serving more than 2,500 youth throughout California. We did, in 2007, do some very specific growing of the work. We worked with Chris Putnam to do a report called Novelty to Expectation, and at that time added some, in addition to the campus support work that we've been doing, added specific infrastructure, data, and other supports to grow the work. The total investment for the 5 funders who are here on the call today has been over $11 million during this more than decade of work. As I've mentioned, Stewart was involved from that early campus. We have funded campuses both in Northern California and have worked to invest in, again, those kind of backbone components that are important for the whole to move forward. I'd like to invite some of the other funders on the phone from Puttrick and Johnson and Angel Foundation to talk a little bit about their history in funding to date. Yali, would you like to start?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. David and I have been part of this field for close to 10 years at this point. We have been mentored by Terry, and so it is really an honor for us to be in this collaborative process, and we're very much looking forward to meeting many more people doing work in this area. And it is something that we've been surprised at how few people are in this area. We're looking forward to seeing this collaborative project really open up the opportunities for foster youth getting education, for the work that's being done in this area to be more public and to generate the awareness of the public in what's happening with foster children and the foster care system. It is, as you all know, something that does an area that requires way more people engaged and more funding, and it is something that has continually amazed us on an amazing amount, on a host of levels. The resiliency of the children and the dedication of the adults that have been committed to seeing this population get an education and move forward in their lives has been something that we have been honored to support and look forward to continuing to support.
How about Yali from the Walter S. Johnson Foundation? Anything you'd like to add about the history of Johnson funding?
Thanks, Terry. The Walter S. Johnson Foundation is a family foundation based here in Northern California, and we've been so honored to be involved with this movement. We're the earliest, I think, partner with the Stewart Foundation back in 2004. And clearly you see an evolution from individual campuses to the system, so sort of the visible side of the growth. And we funded many of, I think, the applicants current and future that are applying. And we're really glad to be part of this new evolution because, as Emily said before, we truly feel that this is a arena that needs much, much more support, that this is an issue that funders can grapple at both at the state level but at the regional level. And nothing is more inspiring, I think, than when you see what young people, what colleges can do with putting our collective minds together. So again, we have been involved since 2004. We do both the campus funding as well as what is now termed the backbone support, like the critical role John Burton Foundation is taking, as well as the Foundation for California colleges and other systems that are involved at the state level to help the individual campuses.
Great.
So again, we're thrilled for the opportunity. Thanks, Terry.
Sure. Angel, would you like to add some information about the work you've done to date?
Sure. So the Angel Foundation is also a private foundation located here in Southern California. And for the last 9 or 10 years, we've funded both foster youth work as well as work in college access. And until recently, that work was funded separately. So we funded work that was geared towards helping youth become, independent, and then funded work towards helping youth go on to post-secondary education. But as we've began to learn, we noticed that the one thread that determines whether or not foster youth are successful is, their ability to actually obtain the post-secondary degree. And so this initiative really gives us the opportunity to bring both of our interests together and work in a really systemic way to make sure that youth have opportunities not only to go on to college, but also to graduate. So we're glad to be a partner, and look forward to continuing to partner with you guys in the future.
Terrific. And just a note that we know that there are other foundations, certainly, that have supported campuses, supported college access for foster youth, as well as many individuals to help support this overall movement. Just wanted to give, again, a background of the folks involved in the collective at this time. So moving on to our discussion of the common agenda for college pathways. A reminder again of how we got to this place. About 18 months, possibly 2 years ago, the foundations did sit down with WestEd to do some polling and focus groups and interviews with the college pathways community to say, how should we organize, how should we structure our work in order to continue to evolve now that we're a decade in. We a result of that work has been our coming together to create this common agenda that really is taking that full array from equipping. How do we help young people get to campus, and pay some very specific attention to that with the equip part of the common agenda. I think what we've done traditionally was more the work in the enroll in and earn a college degree. And as we move forward, an additional emphasis on embarking on a career path. I think we've all, now that we've got over 400 foster youth that have graduated from campuses throughout California, we know that that bachelor's degree and is not enough always to get them onto a sustaining job. So looking both at postgraduate work and specific on-ramps to career is an important way to complete that work. The 2018 goals, so over the next 5 years, this common agenda, we believe, will bring us to being able to demonstrate at least 1,000 foster youth in California having earned that college degree or certificate. Again, the good news is we've already got 400, so that number isn't as daunting as it might otherwise seem. We also want to make sure that FOSSEs are achieving important educational milestones at rates equal to or better than the general student population, which again is an audacious goal, but one that we believe is within our sights. The one piece I'd like to remind folks is that as we look at this common agenda and we talk about the letter of inquiry process today, we are focused on a fairly narrow portion of the investments. As we've heard from others, the foundations are investing in backbone organizations, in data, in other components to support the campuses. One of those other investments is the Blueprint Conference itself, which will happen on October 23rd this year. Registration will open by the end of this month. But it's an important reminder that the information we'll talk about in the letter of inquiry and this RFP process are a part of the whole in the work that we're doing. As I've mentioned, and you've seen on your slides, the folks that are involved with this common agenda to support this work, the Angel Foundation, David and Emily Patrick Fund, Stuart, Walter S. Johnson, and unable to join us today, but definitely a key portion of the work, the Tipping Point Foundation. I don't know if any of the others would like to add to the information I provided earlier, or if should we, so I'd open it to the other panelists if there's anything you'd like to add here regarding the common agenda or any other components.
Terry, I'm so glad you brought up the Blueprint Conference, because I feel like this is one way that this network is able to be more impactful. Now, not everybody can get grants necessarily out at the same time. There's limited funds, but the Blueprint Conference is really a wonderful way to expand the work to all the campuses to learn from each other. And we really do encourage everybody on the phone to broadly spread the message of the registration and attendance. The other thing I wanted to share was that there are definitely more partners that are going to be involved than the 5 of us listed here, that there are other funders who are interested in reviewing LOIs, and that, again, this is just the current now, but we definitely will have more funders joining us.
So moving on to the meat and potatoes of this presentation is talking about the LOI itself and the purpose of the grants that we'll be talking about. The intent of this LOI, again, is to expand pathways to college and career, and the focus of this LOI is on 3 key areas. The first is creating multi-campus networks that are modeled on a successful bit of work that was done actually with Sacramento State, UC Davis, and Cosumnes River College, and creating a full pathway from community college through the CSU and UC within a particular region. So we'll talk later more about the details of those networks. The second area was advanced campus support programs. We felt it was crucial. A lot of the early work in college pathways was helping getting people off the ground, getting them launched. We didn't want for the folks that are the gray hairs to be left out of the process, and wanted to make sure that we're incentivizing success and keeping good programs evolving and continuously improving. So we'll talk more about that advanced campus. And then finally, we know that there's brilliant ideas out there that could get started with a small amount of resources. And so the Innovation Fund or innovation efforts are to make room for and nurture those good ideas, and specifically also again to pathway to college and career. And Alexia will take us through the specifics of those components.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Terry. I'd like to begin by acknowledging how exciting it is to be collaborating with so many passionate and experienced public and private partners on this initiative. And it's thrilling to have so many of you with us today on this webinar. I'm going to cover some of the basic information included in the request for letters of inquiry, and toward the end of the presentation, my colleagues and I are going to do our best to answer your questions. But please don't hesitate to pick up the phone or send an email if you have sort of nuanced questions or multiple questions that you'd like a little bit more time with one or more of us to address. So let's start with the eligibility. Regionally accredited community colleges, 2-year and 4-year institutions, and 501c3 organizations in California. This is California College Pathways, so currently the majority of grants are going to campuses and organizations in California. The multi-campus network and advanced campus grants clearly target 2- and 4-year campuses. And so while the expectation is that campuses participating in a network will engage with local community-based organizations, schools, districts, and child welfare offices, the primary applicants should be the 2- and 4-year campuses. However, the Innovation Fund is open to both campuses and 501c3 organizations. Another thing to note here is that campuses and organizations are welcome to submit multiple letters of inquiry if they have more than one brilliant idea, which I'm sure you all do. So I'm gonna, there we go. All right, so the funding categories. Let's start with the multi-campus network. Ideally comprised of 3 to 4 campuses, at least 1 community college and 1 4-year public or private university located within a proximate geographic region. The purpose of these networks is to create or is to increase each campus's ability to successfully support foster youth, develop bidirectional transfer pathways, align local efforts, and support foster youth scholars. At the end of the day, our experience over the years has taught us that when campus professionals representing the different higher education segments work together to develop and enhance college and career pathways for foster youth, the peer learning and support is tremendously valuable. Each individual campus is strengthened. The web of support for foster youth in that particular region becomes stronger as well. And most importantly, more foster youth receive the support that they need to achieve each of those 4 student milestones that Terry covered earlier. Moreover, campuses with emerging programs are often able to accelerate their development thanks to the support of more advanced campuses who may be participating in that particular network. So this funding category is geared toward campuses with a track record for success. The purpose is to provide campuses with the opportunity to enhance their programs and have a peer community of support. And interested campuses should be prepared to address how their campus program supports foster youth in achieving each of the 4 milestones mentioned earlier, delineated in the initiative's common agenda, as well as propose how they would support other colleges with 1 or more of the 4 milestones. I'm going to back up to advanced campus support programs. This category is intended to support campuses that have demonstrated a commitment as well as a track record for success and in the ability of helping foster youth achieve their college and career goals. And this is really about supporting enhancements for those programs and sustainability. It will bolster campuses that have consistently produced strong student outcomes. And then finally, the Innovation Fund is really about incubating and implementing new ideas and projects to increase the impact of college pathways. This is geared towards both campuses and community organizations. And we're looking for things that expand career opportunities, career readiness, maybe a student-focused project where a group of students have determined that this is a project that they want to bring to fruition on their campus or in their community. Really is a broad array of possibilities as long as they are supporting those student milestones. All right, so I'd like to take a moment here to acknowledge that those who are awarded grants through the LOI, we have these 3 categories as Terry mentioned, but folks who are awarded will also have access to the broader investments of the initiative, including the robust backbone support that Terry mentioned that's made available through our partner John Burton Foundation and Career Ladders and others. So technical assistance, professional development, networking opportunities, blueprint, support with data, youth engagement, lots and lots of resources in addition to these investments. So let's move on to the selection criteria: capacity and commitment to collect and report aggregate data on a consistent basis, an aligned vision with the initiative's vision, mission, and goals, commitment and support from executive leadership as well as leadership with instructional and student support departments. In addition to the 4 student milestones, we all know that there are smaller successes that students need to achieve, momentum points, if you will, to help them get to those larger milestones. So we're really interested in looking at what are those momentum points and how are our students doing in those areas. We're not interested in collecting data just to collect data. We're interested in data that really does help inform all of our work and help improve policies, programs, practices across all the different sectors. Another lesson learned through the years is how critical campus leadership is to these programs at the highest of levels, as well as both on the student support side and instructional side of campus support programs. So let's see, commitment to partner with county child welfare offices, probation departments, and other public partners. Commitment to work in close partnership with foster youth, and commitment to participate in technical assistance offered by John Burton Foundation Career Ladders Project. We're providing a tremendous amount of resources to support our partners, so we want to make sure that they're accessing the supports available. And always, foster youth are at the heart of everything that we do. It's why we all do this work. So making sure that they're engaged in meaningful ways and have ample opportunities to develop leadership skills so that they can be the next leaders of this movement. A track record for partnering with other campuses, community-based agencies or organizations, businesses, effective approaches to skill development, creating bidirectional transfer pathways, etc. Capacity and commitment to sustain efforts beyond this grant. So definitely looking for folks who are able to leverage other dollars and can show that their proposals will be matched or leveraged in some way is very appealing to the funders. All right, let's talk about amount and duration. Multi-campus networks. Networks typically receive planning grants of $60,000 over a 6 to 12 month period. In this 2013 to 2014 investment opportunity, there are a minimum of 4 networks. So that's a minimum we have available for folks to receive, and we hope to bring on additional partners to fund even more networks.
And those are planning grants for planning grants in
Correct.
2013.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. And the philanthropic partners always do their best to make sure that when a planning grant is awarded, as long as those participating campuses are meeting all of their objectives and showing progress, that there are the dollars available to support the implementation for the future. As far as the advanced campus support programs, this is again for campuses with well-established high-performing support programs. There are a minimum of 8 grants available of $25,000 over a 12-month period, and the expectation would be that those advanced campuses would be willing to share their insights and expertise with other emerging campuses. The final category is the Innovation Fund. College and career projects that are either cutting edge and or exemplary. The grants will range between $10,000 to $25,000. and we are excited to see a variety of those ranges coming in. Therefore, we can't provide a minimum number of grants in this category, but we can say that there is a minimum investment of $125,000. So those are the minimums for each of these categories. As we mentioned earlier, we're hoping to bring on additional dollars to support proposals that come in that show a lot of promise. So in general, we're hoping that the College Pathways Initiative becomes a link tank to connect wonderful people doing this work on the campus and in the communities with funders and philanthropic partners who are interested in heightening impact and supporting the great work that you are all doing. So we definitely, beyond the minimum, will be looking at the proposals, and if we see a great fit, maybe contacting others and making sure that they're aware of the projects above and beyond this initial LOI, at least for the first 6 months. So the application instructions, you'll see there's a letter of intent cover form that's pretty straightforward. We're looking for letters that are a maximum of 8 pages. If you have additional documentation, reports, brochures, other pieces or content that you believe support your project or make a case for your project, please feel free to add those into the mix, and they will not be included as part of your initial LOI. In the LOI, we're looking for a description, we're looking for strategic alignment, qualifications and leadership, partnership and collaboration, case, and data. Go into that a little bit deeper. For the project description, we're really looking for the nuts and bolts of your project. The who's eligible for your project, how many are eligible for your project, what age range, what's the eligibility, what is the project, why, what's the need for the project, when, where, how often, to what end. What does success look like for your project? Strategic alignment, this is about how your project fits into the initiative's broader vision and goals, being able to articulate that and helping support the development of a common language and shared measurement. Qualifications and leadership, highlight any existing programming that you currently have for foster youth. Definitely want to highlight track record of success in supporting college and career goals of vulnerable students. Maybe you don't specifically have anything for foster youth, but your campus or organization up to this point has done a great job of serving vulnerable students, and you're really interested in supporting foster youth specifically. And or qualifications of institution or organization staff. If you have tremendous staff, highly experienced, which I'm sure that many of you do, please let us know. Partnership and collaboration. So articulate how you will partner. This is particularly important for the multi-campus networks. Getting together ahead of time and being able to figure out what does the administrative and management look like among the partners? How will the funds be allocated and handled and dispersed? Who's going to coordinate the meetings? What will reporting look like? Having a general sense of those questions and elements is very helpful. Describe how decisions will be made and provide some initial thoughts on what data you'd like to see shared between the campuses, as well as agreements that would need to be in place in order to share that information. Making the case, considering all the selection criteria, what makes your campus or organization the best to carry out this work? I think a lot of the points or the criteria that we described previously, like the qualifications and leadership, partnership and collaboration, all of that sort of builds to this piece right here of what makes your organization or campus the best to do this project. All right, so we're at the point where we're talking about data. As you can see here, this is some very basic baseline data on that we're looking for on current foster youth that you're serving. If you have questions about how to pull that data for specifically just foster youth. Happy to have a conversation about the best way to do that to help you achieve this. It's also mentioned that if you are an organization or a 501c3 applying, that you only have to have 2 data points and a letter of support from a campus who you currently partner with and would be willing to support you in the data collection piece. All right, so here is where you will submit your letters of inquiry. Laura Kumataka is our grants manager. Her contact information is listed here for you. And I am available, as well as my colleagues who are also on this presentation, for questions, but feel free to contact me directly. And if I don't have an answer, I'm happy to find someone who does. So again, I'm really excited to see what comes in. I'm really excited to work with all of you and excited to see the projects. Selection process and timeline. This is again about connecting great opportunities, great projects, submissions to funders interested in heightening impact. So we've released the LOI. Today we're doing an information session. The deadline for advanced and innovation funds is August 12th. And then because multi-campus networks require more conversation across partners typically in the initial stages, we're adding additional weeks there so that there's a little bit more time for them to connect with their campus partners. October 30th is the deadline by which all finalists will be contacted to request a full proposal. That said, each funder has their own grant cycle timeline. So some folks may be contacted immediately after their submission. Others may not be contacted until closer to the end of October. So we will be in communication with you after we receive your proposal. We'll give you a better sense of when you can expect to hear back from us after that initial submission. And then you will definitely know what the status is of your submission by October 30th at the latest. All right, so if any of my colleagues have anything they would like to add at this point on any of the things that we just covered, this would be a great opportunity to do so, and then maybe Debbie could go ahead and take some questions.
Great, so this is Debbie, and I'm going to go ahead and start asking some of the questions that have come in. So the first question is, if a potential applicant is looking at the multi-campus network grant, are they writing the LOI just for the planning portion or for both planning and implementation?
Excellent question. So the letter of inquiry should be focused on the planning portion.
Great. So the next question is, would a network proposal involving 2 community colleges and 2 universities be viable?
I think we're open to various configurations. It's really about that peer support across segments. So while it's nice when possible to have a CSU, a UC, community colleges at the table, we recognize that that isn't always possible. And if there are organic relationships happening between any configuration and they feel like they could take the network to the next level for foster youth, we would encourage them to apply.
Great. So we've gotten a couple of questions about the PowerPoint presentation. So the PowerPoint presentation will be available on the California College Pathways website by the end of the day tomorrow. And the recording may take a couple more days beyond that, but will be up definitely by Monday. So for those of you who are interested in getting a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, you can go to cacollegepathways.org. On the homepage, there's a link to the funding page, and the PowerPoint will be up probably by today, but definitely by tomorrow. The next question is there a model of a multi-campus network that we can look at for reference?
I guess I would need a little bit more information. We definitely have other multi-campus networks in the state. I guess I would refer you to connect with the John Burton Foundation, who provides comprehensive support for these networks, and they would be a great or a tremendous resource when developing a proposal for a network, because they currently work with the networks and help with the planning and implementation process.
Maybe, Alexia, we can name the existing networks just so people are aware of them if they want to reach out to them.
Absolutely. So we had the first network. I think it would be great to pay tribute to the Sacramento area with Sacramento State, UC. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
UC Davis and Cosumnes River College.
Yep.
And we are currently, well, I'd like to give an opportunity for the other funders who have networks to give shout outs to their networks. So Yali?
Yes, we are funding the northern campuses, which are located surrounded around Chico State and their two surrounding community college. That is our newest planning grant, and they're currently pending approval of their implementation grant.
And Johnson is also supporting the Merced.
Thank you.
Network.
And Merced is another one of our current campuses.
And that's UC Merced and two community colleges, if I recall?
Yes.
Okay. Just again, trying to give people a range of what is existing out there. And then Angel, do you want to talk a little bit about the work that you're supporting in Los Angeles?
Right. So the Angel Foundation is funding a network of 3 colleges, UCLA, LMU, and Santa Monica College.
And this is Debbie with the John Burton Foundation. For any of you who are interested in talking more with us to get some more background on what these networks look like, for those of you that don't have my contact information, you can reach me at Debbie, spelled D-E-B-B-I-E, at johnburtonfoundation.org. And that information is on our website as well. So feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to talk more about that.
Great.
The next question,
Debbie, can I add one more thing? Just that part of the planning grant process for folks will be to explore existing networks. So, you know, the turnaround for the letters of inquiry is it's a month or less, depending on what the submission is for. So don't feel pressured to, I mean, it's great to do that research and reach out and definitely contact John Burton Foundation, but there will be opportunities throughout the planning grant process to dive deeper into what it means to be a network and how other folks have structured theirs.
Yeah, if I just comment, that is what the Butte Glen Network did during their planning grant process, was to visit some of the more established campus and see different models. And so they did use their planning period to better understand. Though in their initial grant, they did, of course, indicate what they thought were the strength of their campus models, but also that they were going to use that period for thoughtful planning and data collection.
Great. So the next question is, for network grants, what is the minimum number of campuses required? Could there be a network with just 2 campuses or at least 3 required?
So yes, we understand that there are certain circumstances that would only allow for 2 campuses to participate in a network, and we definitely will accept proposals for 2, but 2 is a great minimum. Otherwise, it's just a single campus.
It may be what I would add to that is if it's two, that might change the amount available for implementation grants. So
yes, thank you. And we would probably ask the question, would they be open to additional partners?
And just from, while we're open to two, I think 3 or more would be more competitive in general.
So one of the things that we discussed in preparation for the release of the request for letters of inquiry, if you are interested in participating in a network, you feel like that is the right category for you, but you have yet to identify who all of the other partners would be, you can contact us, let us know, and we can try to link you with others who may be interested in participating in that sort of peer support network who are looking for partners.
So the next question is, will graduate programming be considered, or is the focus for this LOI at the undergraduate level only?
That's a great question too. You know, part of the College Pathways Initiative is the Embark, so that would be career and graduate level studies. So there is a program at UC Davis, the Guardian Professions Program, that is relatively new and exciting, and so yes, I think we would be willing to take a look at proposals that were focused on the graduate level side.
So the next question is, can a campus submit both a network and an innovation LOI?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, please, if you have multiple great ideas, feel free to propose them, multiple.
And so there's actually a follow-up question somebody submitted on the same topic. If somebody were to submit an LOI for each of the 3 areas, is there a possibility of 2 or all 3 of them being funded, or is it more likely that the best of the 3 would be accepted?
Well, I appreciate this person's enthusiasm, and I couldn't. I'm not a betting person, so I couldn't say how many of them would be awarded. But I really enjoy the enthusiasm, and would just say put forward as strong of proposals as you can. And I would, if you're going to submit in each of the categories, I would encourage a conversation either with myself or John Burton Foundation.
Great. For 501c3s,
that is actually, I'm sorry, Debbie, that's one of the nice parts about this link tank, and as we're bringing in other funders, it raises more likelihood that a person could be successful in all 3. So I think we are suggesting, yes, if you'd like to put in all 3, as we're trying to bring more support to the table, both now and in the future. So I concur, great enthusiasm, and hopefully this gives more of a possibility than we had in the past to have a really strong campus get multiple pathways of support.
Great. So the next question is, for 501c3s applying for Innovation Fund grants, do the services need to serve foster youth currently enrolled in post-secondary, or are you also looking for services directed at youth need the support to enroll in post-secondary for the first time?
Well, we're looking for proposals that support that common agenda and those 4 student milestones. So I would say that if the project that this person is proposing supports one of those 4 student milestones, that would be in line with College Pathways. And as long as it's in line with College Pathways, we will try and find, if it's not a project that's appropriate for this current LOI, we're certainly happy to help, as Terry mentioned before, provide that linkage to other funders who may be more interested in the pre-college side of things, which there are many, and that is part of
Right.
College Pathways.
Yep, I would say that the equipped part of the Common Agenda
Yeah.
is our recognition of that easing the path in. So I would encourage that submission.
Yes.
Okay. And another person submitted a similar question that I'm just going to read now. I believe the answer is probably the same. Is would a project with a focus on college prep for middle school foster youth also be a viable proposal?
And again, I would say if it's part of those 4 student milestones, then it's aligned and they're welcome to submit. We truly are, it's great to have all of these people thinking about projects and ways to support the college and career pathways for current and former foster youth. So if it's not appropriate for this particular LOI, then we will do our best to link it with funders who would be interested.
Okay. There's actually a second part to that question, which is if somebody were serving middle school foster youth, would there be a requirement of tracking those youth all the way through to college?
I think I would need more details about the actual project in order to give a good response to that. But so that person is welcome to reach out to me directly and discuss the project.
The next question is about the network grants. Can a network grant be a linkage between a community college, a university, and a nonprofit?
That's a great question. I think the expectation is that multi-campus networks will have relationships, meaningful relationships with local community-based organizations, schools, school districts, child welfare offices. However, we really are hoping that the networks, there's a level of consistency across the state in the networks because that elevates the learning and the monitoring of progress. So I would not discourage that person from applying. However, I would say priority will be given to applicants with campus applicants.
Great. One person is asking if you could repeat the 4 student milestones.
Absolutely. So, and for those of you who have downloaded the request for letters of inquiry application, it's the final page in the back, shares, and it's the brightly colored 4 moving arrows. So, and we're referring to it as our common agenda moving forward. So it's equipping foster youth with the essential resources that they need to be successful, and that includes a lot. That's making sure that when they leave high school that they're college ready, that they have access to housing, mental and physical health supports, all of those well-being pieces that are necessary in order for them to be able to focus on college and career. And actually EQUIP runs throughout all the way to Embark, if you really think about it, because steady housing is very important in order to persist and complete. Enroll is the second student milestone, making sure that they enroll.
Alexis, could I add one piece?
Absolutely.
I think as we talked about EQUIP, we're particularly interested in this era of AB 12 and the extension of foster care to 21 to see that strong partnership between campuses, nonprofits, and the child welfare agency itself, who has a set of supports they could and should be offering. So it's really that collaborative work during the EQUIP stage and the opportunities that the extension of Care to 21 has brought.
Yes, thank you, Terry. So we're hoping that no matter what your role is in a young person's life, whether as a caregiver, a supportive adult, a social worker, a campus support professional, that you see yourself in these student milestones and that you're able to see your role in that young person's life and how you can support them in achieving each of these milestones. The enroll is making sure they have access to priority registration and access to robust financial aid packages, all the things that they need to be successful from the start. Earn is quite large, right? It's course success, retention, all those momentum points that get them to completion of a degree or certificate. And then Embark is career and beyond. So while we're hoping that we're providing or equipping foster youth with 21st century skills, career readiness skills as they're going through each of these milestones, the result or culmination of all of that is that they graduate and move on to either higher level studies, graduate level studies, or entry into a promising career.
Great. The next question is kind of a more technical question. Is the $60,000 for multi-campus network funding awarded to each campus, or is this amount divided among the campuses?
That's a great question. So that is divided among the campuses, and again, why I stress the importance of convening before submitting the letter of inquiry so that you have the opportunity to get a sense of how the funds would be distributed and some of those administrative pieces on the front end.
So there's a question about how you'll be looking at the baseline data in determining who receives a grant. And the second part to the question, if our spring 2013 data is much different from 2012, should we include that data as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, obviously we're looking to support as many young people as possible, as many foster youth as possible. So I'd be remiss to say that we aren't looking at the number who are enrolled in that project or current project, or would be, how many would be served through that. As far as the campuses, if it's a campus or an organization, looking at the students' academic performance, I think it's good to know where it's just good to know where the campus is at in supporting these foster youth. I don't think there's anything that would be held against the campuses. It's more of just how are these students doing, because that's really going to help inform the grant making process and make sure that the grantee is set up for success. So we are truly partner. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In general, more data is better than less data. So, so if including both 2012 and 2013 data is what the campus would like to provide, it's hard to go wrong with more data.
Absolutely.
Right. So there's a question about grant timing. If the request to submit full proposal will be announced as late as October, do you know the timing for when grants will be awarded? I guess sort of how long the full proposal process would then take.
Sure. I really can't stress enough how that depends on each funder's or foundation's grant making process and grant cycles. So that's why we have a cutoff date of October 30th. Some grants may not start until January of 2014, depending on who the funder is. I know that for us, internally we've staggered the process and would hope to have everything for those who we've selected to move forward with the process, have everything finalized by early December so that the grant could start in January. But that there may be cases where projects could move forward even sooner. So I'd like to give an opportunity for other funders who'd like to speak to their grant making process who are on the phone, and then there are others in addition to the ones who aren't on the phone who have their own process. So Yali, do you want to speak to your timeline?
Sure. We're one of the funders who will be funding a network, and our timeline will be faster than what's indicated, but as what the Stewart Foundation mentioned, because this is almost like a strategic dating service, if you will, I think it's hard to give an exact date because each of us have our own parameters. So our deadline would be for our fall docket in November, which means that by September we would have a pretty solid proposal and conversations. And so we're doing a pretty quick turnaround as soon as we see the LOI, see the interested party, and also potentially partner with another funder. And again, if there's other LOIs that come in that interest us, there's a possibility we may even push it beyond our November docket deadline to the next year. But we are definitely looking to pick up a couple of good sites for the fall, which means, again, a pretty quick timeline in September. And after the LOI process, then we will go into our own individual grant-making process at the Walter S. Johnson Foundation.
This is Emily. We're interested in funding in the network category as well, and I would say that our timing is probably similar to Yali's as well, that we would be open to doing something before the end of the year as well.
And this is Angel, and we're open. We just funded our first network. It's a possibility that we might pick up another. It depends on what comes in, but our process is open, so it can move as quickly as the other funders or slower depending on what our interest is.
And I would say for the Stewart grants, they are funded out of our 2013 calendar year. So ones coming from Stewart need to be executed in 2013 so that it doesn't hit our 2014 budget. So hopefully that gives a range of across the funders where we're at.
So the next question is, apparently the LOI announcement says that the amount for network planning grants is $75,000 as opposed to $60,000, which is on the webinar. So could you clarify what the amount is for planning grants?
It would vary on the number of campuses applying, but if you have between 3 and 4 campuses, then 75. And thank you for catching that. We'll update that. But it does vary on how many campuses are applying.
Great. Question about, can scholarships be involved with any of these LOIs? I'm assuming that means if somebody were to submit a request to use the funds to provide direct scholarships as part of what they're doing, is that allowable?
I think that, again, depends on the funder that would be interested in that particular proposal. Stewart Foundation doesn't typically fund scholarships. However, there are other organizations who may be more interested in funding the scholarships. And if you all, Patrick or Angel or Walter S. Johnson, would like to speak to your organization's view on scholarships.
This is Walter S. Johnson Foundation. We typically do not fund scholarships.
And I would say through this initiative, if we were to pick up another network, then no, we wouldn't consider scholarships under this initiative.
This is Emily. We do not fund scholarships.
All right, so that's a couple of no's here from the presenters who are on the presentation, but I would like to tell the person who submitted that question to not be disheartened, and that, again, we are trying to be a link tank and would actively look for opportunities to connect you with funders who would be interested in supporting scholarships to foster youth.
Great. So I know that we're pretty much at time. I'm going to direct one last question. For those of you, there's a couple of folks who had some very specific questions that are very specific to your unique situation. And so since we weren't able to get to all of those, I would encourage you to reach out to Alexia to get the response to your particular circumstance. But one last question is, somebody is asking if you can maybe share again about, for a campus who's interested in learning about who else might be interested in order to create one of these networks, what's the best way for them to go about sort of finding out where there might be some linkages that they could make? That would be for you, Alexia?
Absolutely, and I'm excited that somebody is entertaining that notion. So reach out to me and let's have a conversation. And hopefully we can make some connections. I think one of the most exciting things about College Pathways is that it does provide that opportunity to connect partners with other partners, whether they be peers, funders, just tremendous opportunities for connections.
I think
Great.
John Burton Foundation, Debbie are a great resource for that as well.
Yes, definitely. Feel free
in the field and knowing. So I'd say both Debbie, Alexia, and or any of the funders. It's why again we're saying pick up the phone, call. We can help work it through.
Absolutely. And if you have a relationship with an existing funder, such as Patrick or Angel or any of the others that are on the call, feel free to call them directly and talk it through. Don't feel like you have to call myself first. If you have relationships with them, by all means, feel free to talk it through with them, and then I'm happy to help in any way that I can. I just want to say that it's been an honor to have so many of you on the call, so many interested in supporting this work and the college and career pathways of foster youth in California. Really excited to see what gets put forward, and appreciate all your time and energy that you put into things.
Great. Any additional last words before we close the web seminar?
No.
Okay, that ends this morning's web seminar. Thank you all for being on the call, and feel free to make contact with any of us directly for additional information.
Great. All right. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Good evening and good afternoon. Bye.
Bye.